Well, good morning, gardeners and homesteaders, and welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. We are here today, and I'm going to start some seeds, and I just, it's exciting. I'm ready to start seeds. I'm ready to start that process. It's exciting to see a whole seed shelf full. But real quick, it's I'm in Zone 8B in North Carolina, if you're new to the channel, and thank you. But it's 57 degrees in the sun, and then I'm going to actually have to go back in the shade to do it, so it's going to be about 45. But I do want to look real quick and see the greenhouse is heating up, but we can see that it hasn't opened, so I'm not really going to overly vent it, but I do want to vent it just a little bit just to make sure that we're getting some fresh air in. So we're going to open it for a little bit, but other than that, that's about all we're going to do in the garden today. Everything else is out here just kind of growing, so we're just going to let it do its thing. And I'm going to show you my supplies. So I got a brand new fresh bag of this Pro Mix with mycorrhizae. Love this stuff. This is a 25-pound bag. It cost me like 20 bucks. So it's $1 a pound, and it's well worth it. And then we come over here. We've got our perlite, or perlite, however you want to say. I say perlite. Yeah, I'm a redneck, so that's just how it is. But we're going to use this to top off everything. And then I actually got a new watering can, but we'll talk about that during the video. All right, so we've got, what is it? 24 6-cell trays out here. And this is the time of year when I'm using 6-cell trays. And we're going to be planting a number of things today. And this is really going to be our big initial planting for these vegetables. And we'll come back and we'll do another one at a later date. But we have got bobcat cabbage, green magic broccoli, Chinese cabbage, yodfa, golden acre cabbage, and calabrese green sprouting cabbage. So the calabrese is an heirloom, and the green magic is a hybrid. So what do you think we're going to do there? You're exactly right. We're going to test them out and see which one outgrows the other, produces better, easier to take care of, whatever. So we're going to work on that. And then same thing with the cabbages. So we've got bobcat cabbage and golden acre. Bobcat cabbage is an heirloom. No, I'm sorry. Bobcat cabbage is a hybrid, and the golden acre is an heirloom. And the reason why we're doing both of these hybrid is technically I do like to save seeds for broccoli. I've done it successfully. Got a lot of seeds too off like 2 plants. But I just want to see. You know what I mean? That's why we're doing the hybrid or the heirloom. But for the cabbage, we're not going to collect seeds for those. So we're just going to roll with it, For the sake of my time, I need to speed this up a bit. So we'll do that. And then the yodfa is just some weird seed that we got and we grew one year. We didn't even know what it did. So it was just kind of odd. So we're going to try that again. It's a type of broccoli, but you eat the stems of it, which, much to my surprise, we did an episode on the Backyard Gardens podcast about broccoli. And it turns out back in the day, people didn't eat the flower, but they just ate the stem. So it's not really out of the ordinary for that. And then apparently the yodfa has the flavor of, what was it? I'm drawing a blank. Asparagus. So we're going to try it and see if it tastes like asparagus. What can I say? I don't grow asparagus because I'm just never got around to it. But we'll see if this one will work. So we'll get these filled up, and then I'll come back, and once I start planting, I got a couple things I want to tell you. All right, so I filled everything up. I put dimples in it, pre-watered it, all that stuff. I did a video about this method that I'm using, and I'll link it at the end for you. But I want you to stay here because I'm going to tell you basically the process and why we start so early. So first of all, I need to pick a seed to start with. And I think we should start with our cabbages. So first off, why do we start so early? That's a good question. I know a lot of people are thinking like, hey Ben, it's not even the first of the year, you still got some time. this, that, and the other. And it's like, yes, we do. But here's one thing I know about gardening and starting seeds. And I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. Basically, if you're going to start seeds, don't around and know when you're going to your schedule and plant to that schedule, because if you miss it, you're going to miss your optimum time. If you've done the research and you know when to start those seeds, then you know that it is time to start those seeds and you need to do it, or else you're going to miss your planting window to get optimal growth. There. Now, that being said, that's an important thing to remember. And, you know, another question might be, is why am I planting so much? And I mean, that's really simple. The answer is, first of all, we want to plant a lot. But the other thing too is we sell seedlings, and this is basically, since YouTube doesn't pay us a lot, this is how we keep the show rolling. So, you know, we get the money from this, pays the bills. That way I can continue to do this for you guys. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And I like selling seedlings. I think it's cool. Definitely the money is nice, but really what it's all about is, over the years that I've been growing, I've gotten pretty good at starting seeds. And I like giving people that want to grow a good seedling to start with. You know what I mean? Like, the big box stores are good and all, but you just don't get any variety. So I like giving people an option, giving them what they, you know, something else to look forward to, taking the legwork out for them, and allowing them to just grow basically unrestricted, just have fun growing. So that's a big part of it. One thing I do have concerns about, let me get another pack of seeds, is the growth rate of these, okay? So I'm starting, these are heirlooms, these are gonna be the bobcat cabbage, and they're hybrids. So I would be willing to take a gentleman's bet, because, you know, I'm not really a betting man, that these the hybrids will, in the seed cells, outgrow these heirlooms. That's just gonna happen. So we're gonna have to hold back a little bit on some stuff. And one of the things that we can do right away, so there's two things that you could do. One is you can stagger your planting dates. So that's something that we can do here. And what I mean by that, which I feel like I shouldn't have to explain it, but just in case I do, you plant this week, and then 2 weeks later you plant the hybrids, and that'll kind of work its way out in the long run. I don't like to do that because it is a little bit of a pain to do, but what it does is it allows me to come through and get them all done at once, fill up my seed tray, and then have that whole rack filled up. So I typically like to do, my seed shelf holds 4 trays. I like to have 4 trays filled up, and it works out pretty good. So right now what we're doing is we're doing all of the cold season stuff, and we don't typically fill up the whole rack. We'll leave one tray, or one shelf, excuse me, empty. And then that'll allow us, because on February 15th, remember I said, if you have a plan, stick to it and go by it. We'll come back and we'll plant these again. We'll plant all of our tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that. But we're not doing it in these 6 cell trays anymore. We're doing it in those 72 cell trays. So we get double the amount in half the space. So it works out really good for us. So we'll continue to do that. And that just allows us to kind of maximize our space. Now, the other thing we can do, especially for these hybrids, is we can hold back on the feeding of them. So what we'll do, and first of all, my feeding method is a little bit different. So I'm typically an organic fertilizer gardener, meaning I don't use synthetics, but for my seedlings, I actually do use a synthetic fertilizer. I use what is called Osmocote. So Osmocote is basically a pelleted fertilizer that will release every time you water. It will release a little bit. So if I put the organic in here, what happens is it has to get into the soil and it has to break down. So ideally, if you want to do that, now is the time to do it. Now is the time to mix some of that fertilizer in there so it can get in the soil and break down. I don't want to do that for two reasons. I want to be in control of when I feed. And so what that means is I'll take these seedlings and feed them, you know, as when I feel fit. And that's usually once we start getting a good, strong, true leaf on it, maybe a set of them. And then we'll put Osmocote in and we just sprinkle it right on the surface. And every time we water, it will release a little bit of fertilizer. And so that's really going to help keep it growing and keep it fed. So we can control the growth rate by fertilizing this one earlier than this one, getting it a little bit more. And then with all of these different methods, we can take these and get these all caught up and going about the same rate, if that makes any sense. So that's how we control it. I've used Osmocote for years for other things and it works really good. I wouldn't use it in my whole garden. First of all, it costs a fortune, but you can get a big bag of it pretty cheap. I think I got a bag, I got a jar of it at Lowe's this big and it was $5. And then I went on Amazon and got like a 5-pound bag for like $8. Makes, I mean, you do the math. So we've got plenty of it. It doesn't take a whole lot either. I mean, sometimes you can put a couple pellets in and it will feed a little bit over time. So that's how we get them started. And then once we get them in the ground, we will immediately pre-plant fertilize with organic fertilizer and get them going. So what I'm doing right now is I'm top dressing all of my seeds with perlite. And so the reason why I do that is it's really light. I mean, it's that light, so the seeds can push straight through it, keeps them nice and moist. Ever since I started doing this last year, dude, I get like 100% germination rates. I never have issues with seeds coming up. I used to have to come through and like dig around a little bit and find the seedling and, you know, just kind of free it from the soil if I got it too deep. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I do like using this method as well, and it really helps. You may have and you may have not noticed too, I put 3 seeds in each cell in here and I put 1 or 2 in here. These seeds are older, these seeds are newer. That's all that is. Plus I didn't have a lot of the Bobcat seeds, so I wanted to stretch them as much as possible. And the last ones we did, it was those funky looking ones. I can't even remember the name of them now. A couple videos ago. Those actually, I put 1 seed in each cell and I had 100% germination rate. I was a little stressed out about it, but it worked out good. I typically like to do multiples though, but I'm getting more confident and I do relate that to perlite. Just saying, you can use any method you want, but this is the method that I use. I got the green magic done and when I opened the packet, I got a nice surprise. So these are Haas seeds. And like I said in the previous video, I am not loyal to anything, but this may just sway me. I opened it up. Look what was in it. Son of a gun. This is amazing. So I don't even have to write a tag because I forgot to bring my tags out, so I had to keep them organized. Boop. Not anymore. So I don't know if it's in the other one for the Bobcat cabbage. Let me double check. That is so sad. There's not one in there. But I'm here to tell you, seed companies, I know some of y'all watch this, tighten up. That's a game changer, okay? Even if you do it for 1 year, I'll have that tag for years. I can save it. And that's why I do all of my trays the same one, the same seed, because I only need 1 tag for that tray. So it makes it so much easier. Now, the key thing is to pre-water your soil. So as soon as you get it all ready, you pre-water it, get it nice and wet. I mean, I'm talking about saturated, like it ain't nobody's business. Like Noah's flood is just inbound, just saturate it. Because if you do it and you put it in dry soil and then you put the seed in, then you start to water the first time, that seed's gonna move around, and that's how you get lodged seeds under soil. It'll float out, you'll get them growing on the sides, they'll be all wonky. Just won't really work out for you in the best way. So that's why I started doing it that way, and it's been amazing. So just try and keep that in mind too as you move forward and you do these, is always pre-water. And then the key next is once you get all of this on, you want to water again, but you got to water careful. And so because there's already water and the soil is saturated, it's not really going to be a big issue because the seed will lock into place. This will actually, believe it or not, this will hold it into place, even as light as it is, because remember, it's super light, but it will hold it into place. I just like blowing it around, what can I say? So make sure you water it afterwards. And what I like to do is ooh, I just about spilt it, is a sweeping motion. So as my watering can comes over, I sweep all the way to the side, all the way over. And that way when I stop, it's not just pouring it right here, the main pour will come out. So you're just kind of, it's kind of fun, you know, you just do a dance, man. Yeah, whatever dance that is, that's for you to decide. We got our seeds started. Now this is a case where you use the right tool for the right job. And for these, because these are individual 6-packs, we want to keep them close together. So I use the trays that had the holes in them that I showed you in the previous video. That way the water can just drip straight out. When we water them, they won't be holding water. We have a big tray in our seed shelf, which I'll do a tour once these start to germinate. And you'll see that when they water, they will leak the water out, but that tray will hold the water, and then we can get a little bit of bottom watering going on, because I do like to do a little bit of bottom watering, but we'll talk more about that in the future. But yeah, this is all that we did. So I changed my plan, and I'm gonna tell you why. So we did golden acre cabbage, bobcat cabbage, green magic broccoli, and then calabrese broccoli. So I wanted to keep each one in its own tray. I didn't do the Chinese cabbage yet because I am going to plant a little bit early in my greenhouse, but I want to show you the greenhouse and I don't know where to put it quite yet. I'm not sure how the greenhouse is going to perform. You know, we're letting the spinach go, and the idea is to keep the spinach going all winter long so that we can keep continuously harvesting off of it, especially once these new plants catch up, which they're well on their way. And then when the bok choy comes up, we're probably going to put rutabagas in there. I don't really know what I want to put in there just yet. I'm kind of waiting to figure it out. But we don't want to do a lot of Chinese cabbage because we're testing it out. So this area right here is going to be a good candidate. It's got this, well, first of all, it's got this random rutabaga coming up, which I'm not really going to mess with. But it's got this lettuce that we're going to be harvesting. And when that's done, that's going to be a good candidate for the spot for it. It's not a seller, so we're not going to start a lot of them to sell. Most people could really care less about Chinese cabbage, Napa cabbage, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to put it in there, give it a little test, see how it goes. It's just right now it's easier to do it this way, to have these trays totally filled. I did used to do trays that were mixed, and I know a lot of you don't do like we do, and I get it. But if you are like upscaling a little bit, it's a lot easier to have all six packs in one variety. And what I'm probably going to do this year is I'm going to do one tray of random varieties. So each 6-pack would have its own. This is stuff that I wouldn't sell, stuff I want to test out, stuff like that. So it should work out pretty good. One thing too, and this is a big help to me, is I use this watering can here, and see how the spout's turned up. Now I can turn it up the other way, but when it's turned up, it's a more gentle spray. I did have to get a new one. I wanted a gallon, but one thing, they have a weak point on them, and that weak point is the head. So the head will actually crack eventually in the sun, and then it'll just start to leak. So I've actually contacted the company for my smaller one to see if I can get a new head for it. If I can't, I can flip-flop whatever. They tend to last about a year for the head, but the can itself was pretty cheap. But it is a game changer. So all of that should help you get started growing, you know, all of your seedlings, getting them started if you want. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is like bottom heat and heating them. These cool season crops, I do not put on bottom heat. No bottom heat at all. I don't need them. I mean, my house, I keep my house pretty cold. It stays about 65 in the wintertime, and that seems to be just right. We got our last cabbages we planted, they sprouted in 5 days. It's supposed to be a 7 to 10 days. So anytime I can get under that estimated time frame, that's a cue to me that it's quite all right. So we did onions, they sprouted faster. We did cabbages, they sprouted faster. So we won't use any bottom heat for these, but we will for our other stuff when we go to plant them. But again, this is our big planting for now because we have 2 months until they go out. So typically around January 5th or February 15th, we can put them out in the garden, but we're gonna start hardening them off on that date. So we get a little bit behind, but depending on the weather, it could work out in our favor because you gotta harden them off. So that's why we're doing it now. So we started, it's actually not the 15th. Today is, I don't know what today is. What is today? It's the 12th. So we're 3 days ahead of time. If we take them out on the 15th to plant them, they'll have 3 days of extra growth. And this is weather dependent. If it's a nice day, we'll put them out. You know, if it's gonna be a nice period, move them in and out, get them acclimated. And then probably around the 3rd week of February, they're gonna go in the ground. If not before that, it all depends on the weather. So this just ensures that we get started. But remember what I said, make a plan, an educated plan, take your planting date, go back 8 weeks, and don't take what you think is a planting date, take what you know is a planting date, do your research, and don't mess around and get them started. And you're gonna have an amazing garden this year. And if you haven't started seeds, it's gonna change your game completely because you're gonna plant more for way less. If you bought all this at the store, it'd be hundreds of dollars. Cost me, this right here cost me 25 bucks.